Hi, good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar presentation. My name is John Clements. I'm the technical lead for the Homeland Defense and Security Information Analysis Center, or HDIAC, one of three IAC domains in the DoD Information Analysis Centers operating under the Defense Technical Information Center, or DTEK, within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. Our informative webinar series highlights current and emerging research and technology developments. It presents an opportunity for accelerating the DoD's leverage of these advancements by increasing awareness and fostering technical collaboration. HDIAC serves as one of the premier information research partners and curators of technology advancements and trends for the Homeland Defense and Homeland Security communities. As such, our organization supports those working in the Homeland Defense and Security domain of DoD research and engineering. We do this by helping navigate the vast landscape of scientific and technical information, allowing our customers to get a head start on their technical projects. We provide research and analysis services and help unlock access to information, knowledge, and best practices from government, industry, and academia to stimulate innovation, foster collaboration, and eliminate redundancy. We hope you enjoyed this webinar and that it serves as a catalyst for community collaboration and improved DoD, Homeland Defense, and Security research. Before we begin, I'll note a couple of administrative items. First, if you're dialed in by phone and would like a copy of the slides, they were posted to the HDIAC webinar announcement. You can go to hdIAC.org/webinars and find today's webinar. When you click on it at the bottom of the announcement, it will say to view the webinar PDF, click here. Second, all participants are muted, but you can chat with the presenters and moderators using the chat box to the left. However, if you would like to pose a question for the Q&A session at the end, please use the audience questions tool at the top center of your screen. It is the icon that looks like a chat bubble with a question mark next to the emoji. At the end of the presentation, I'll go over the Q&A, and for the benefit of those on the phone, I'll read the question out loud to the presenter. If you have a technical issue during the presentation, don't worry, the full presentation will be available online. Check back on the HDIAC website. Once the webinar is posted, the Go to Webinar button will take you to the YouTube link. So with that, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. Lisa Delp brings a first-person perspective to the needs of the emerging companies and the role of government in economic development. At state, national, and international levels, she works to build sustainable entrepreneurial environments and create active networks of vital business resources. I'm not going to go through her entire background. I'll leave that up to Lisa. But in 2018, she formed GDI Partners with a longtime business colleague, Tracy Bodinger, to offer the Triad Technology Requirements and Innovation Awareness Days program that provides education and advocacy to stimulate small business growth and commercialization of new technology for the U.S. warfighter. So with that, Lisa, I will turn it over to you and let you take it away.
Great. Thanks, John. And thank you for organizing this and for all of the support in helping us get this information out. We hope that the audience and those folks that review this later will find what we're sharing today to be of value. So thank you everyone for joining us. I really appreciate your time. We've got about an hour on the schedule today. Presentation should take around half that and leave us ample time for questions after the fact. And I'll have my contact information at the end. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I would certainly welcome a conversation to follow up. So as John said, GDI Partners was formed in 2018, and our goal is to really help companies with innovations and solutions to problems to better engage with the DoD and other federal agencies. My partner Tracy and I come from an entrepreneurial background, so we've kind of felt the pain of trying to meet the right people, trying to get information shared, trying to advance our business going forward. So we've taken the lessons that we've learned and the information that we've gathered from our clients and our network and our ecosystem to put together an education program that helps our client companies to really move forward and be efficient and effective with their time and with their resources. Today specifically, we'll talk about how to improve that engagement. My partner Tracy coined the phrase, right information, right format, right people. So that's what we're going to focus on as we go forward. So with that, we'll head for the first slide. So some areas that we've specifically called out that we know if you focus on these things, they can really help with you, make an impact as you're making connections and as you're sharing information. So the first thing is always do your research and align your solutions to problems. So the DoD, Homeland, the three-letter agencies, they share a lot of information, and some of that information can be very confusing, and we don't all speak the same language and use the same terms and the same format. So look into the problems the DoD is experiencing and think about your innovation, not just as a technology, not just as something that's wonderfully valuable, wonderfully innovative, but as a solution to a problem, so that when you're engaging with the DoD or you're engaging with a representative, you can target for them what problem they have and how you are addressing that problem specifically. Look at your business, your problems, your challenges, and think about the resources that you really need. And when we talk about resources, we're thinking not just about money. Money doesn't solve all the problems. We're thinking about people, about expertise, about equipment, about facilities. So think through, what do I really need to move my business forward, and then work towards achieving that, towards gaining that. Use the language of your audience. So the DoD, as anybody knows who's engaged with them, they really don't speak our language. They speak in acronyms. They've got their own terms, their own titles for things, their own descriptions of things, as we have in the business environment, as academia has, as various industries have. Try to always communicate in a language that they will understand. Bring your technology down to the basics, to the layperson understanding. Our scouts always tell us, speak as if you're speaking to an eighth grader, so that we've got that good common understanding of what the problem is, what the solution is, and how your solution is the best for that. Share information in a format that people on the inside of the fence are going to be able to comprehend. We've all got our own templates. We've got white papers. We've got technical papers. We've got capability statements. We've got bluffs. We've got quad charts. We've got elevator pitches, and the list goes on and on and on. But take the time to figure out, how does my audience want to see information presented, so that it's as easy for them to understand as possible. And the last thing is, talk to the right people, actively engage with the right people. If you're talking to an admin, a receptionist, they're not necessarily going to be able to help you to talk with the end user, or they're not going to be able to help you talk to the subject matter experts. So be thoughtful. Don't spend a lot of time trying to reach out to people that aren't going to help you going forward. It's not a good use of your time, and it's not a good use of their time either. And we'll talk some specifics about this as we go forward. So one of the most common pieces of material that we use in the Triad program and that we share with our partners is the Combatant Command Common Capability Needs List. So this is an eye chart of challenges and problems that's published by the combatant commands on a pretty regular basis. The current version is from 2020. There was not a version published this year. We expect to see something coming out in the new year. It's an eye chart. I've provided the link to this. Though this is publicly available, it's not always easy to find. So if you follow this link, you can get to that list, and you can also email me, and I'll send you a PDF copy. Do yourself a favor, look at it on screen. It's tough to read and tough to understand when you look at it in detail. But what the COCOM list is showing us is that across this top section, you'll see a list of all of the commands: Central Command, Cyber Command, Spacecom is already on there, and they've included challenges that they've experienced in 8 major categories. So operations and mission support, weapons, power and energy, cyber. So if you look, you'll see the section on that third page is C2, C4I, and cyber. So here's a perfect example of an acronym that they use that we don't always see in the outside. So C2 is command and control, C4I is command control, communications, computers, and intelligence, and then cyber could be cybersecurity, systems, software, and so forth. Force protection and medical, that's med tech, biotech, healthcare, healthcare, IT, all of those things kind of roll into that category. What this list is really telling us is that there are problems that they've identified. They want to solve those problems. Somebody is very likely ready to put money behind those problems, and here's who has that. So one of the things that you'll see in the force protection and medical group is technology that supports service members during the golden hour. So the golden hour is that first period of time after a soldier is wounded. So they may be treated by a combat medic, by a field medic, by a fellow soldier. And what they're looking for, what the COCOMs are looking for in this, is something that's going to help in that early treatment, that's going to help in that transport, that transfer. So it could be, bandages or surgical glue or wound care technology or products, or it could be on body sensors to monitor that patient, or it could be a new kind of transport, or it could even be something that links all of those things together. So don't get bogged down in trying to figure out exactly and force fitting things. Think outside the box a little bit, and how does my technology, how does my innovation solve this problem that they have? One of the things that we've obviously all heard a lot about is COVID. COVID is an area of interest for DoD, but broadly, the DoD is interested in the prevention of pandemics, the detection of infectious diseases, the protection of the community from infectious diseases. And an area that we look at that is getting a lot of press, but is not on here, is advanced materials, advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing, as something that is very much of interest to the DoD, especially as we start to think about space and how you manufacture parts and replacement parts while you're in space. So if your goal is to sell to the Department of Defense, if your goal is to offer your technology, do yourself a favor, do some research, try to understand what their problems are and how what you're doing is going to solve those problems. One place that you can look to better understand what DoD needs, what they're hoping to find, is the Defense Technical Information Center, or DTEK. So DTEK has information from the combatant commands about the kinds of technologies they're looking for. This is where you would find that common needs list, but you can also find a lot of other opportunities. You can find a lot of other information on the Defense Innovation Marketplace site. I've given you the URL for that as well. You'll find information about funded projects. So if you're interested in understanding whether or not somebody else has had funding for a technology that's similar to yours, you can go into the DTEK site and you can put your technology information, put some keywords in there and search for that, and you may come up with SBIR final reports. You may find test results. You may find other pieces of information in there. They do have a live reading room, as is noted on the slide. That room is currently closed, and when it is open, there are some special parameters around accessing that room. But you will be astounded at the amount of information that you can find here. You can drill down, look at specific combatant commands, and see more precisely what they're looking for. You can see presentations from leadership. There's just a host of information that's free and available to the public through this site and through sites like it. And you'll see links to other sites that you can use to really build your information and build your awareness about what DoD is looking for and what they're hoping their community of innovators can help them find. So in terms of resources, certainly one of the resources that we all hear most about is the SBIR program, STTR program. that comes from the Small Business Administration. And so I've provided the links on here for that. The SBIR program really helps you to develop your technology, improve your technology, modify existing technology. And though there are some misconceptions about whether you get funded, your technology gets funded, and DoD is going to say, well, you can only sell it to us, you can't sell it to anybody else. That's not necessarily true. One of the goals of the SBIR program and SBA in general is to help those technologies reach the commercial market. DoD has finally, I'll say, come to an understanding that economies of scale matter. And gee, if I can buy a product that is sold in the commercial market, I'm probably going to have better access to it. And it's probably going to cost me less than if that's only being manufactured for me. So I can get a green hammer from the Master Car Catalog or Ace Hardware just as easily as I can get, maybe something, or easier than I can get a purple hammer that's only for left-handed people that's stamped with X, Y, and Z. So being able to articulate that dual use for your technology is advantageous. And in fact, some of the SBIR proposals and topic releases will say specifically they want to see what the commercialization pathway is to that technology. Because before DoD wants to fund that, they want to know, if I give you money to develop that technology, I am ultimately going to be able to get that technology and use it for the purpose intended. So there are 11 federal agencies that participate in the SBIR program. SBIR stands for Small Business Innovative Research. And then there are another 8 agencies that participate in the STTR, so Small Business Technology Transfer. So the difference between the two is both are suitable for a small business as the lead applicant, but in an STTR, you have to have a principal investigator from the academic community. So this helps to draw that academic research out of the labs and into the marketplace. And we have heard that sometimes STTRs can be easier to get because there are fewer applicants for those programs. The thing to remember about these is they're very time consuming. They can be lucrative. They're multi-phase. So a phase 1 SBIR may be about $50,000. And when you get into phase 2, you can get into the hundreds of thousands or maybe a couple $1,000,000. And when you get into phase 3, that gives you an opportunity for a sole source contract. But there are a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's a very specific, very regimented process. So do your homework. Make sure that if a topic comes out that is aligned with your technology, you do some research, make sure it's a fit. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the time of the reviewers, and reach out for support on these things if you need to get that. And that support is available to you, and I'll give you some examples of where you can find that. So resources, speaking in general, you've got the small business programs from the SBIR, STTR. Again, I've put the links on here. I've also put the specific link on here for DoD's SBIR, STTR program. You can go into those websites. You can add a keyword search again in there. You can look at what's been funded. You can look at what funding is out there. You can see who the authors are of those topics and understand that information a little bit better. Demonstration opportunities are great resources for you to help find end users, to help identify any problems with your technology. So one that we're very familiar with here in Ohio is Tech Warrior Ops. It's run from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. That demonstration opportunity allows companies to bring their technology onto the testing environment, the demonstration environment. The Tech Warrior Ops folks will bring in end users to test your equipment, play with it, see if they can break it, and most importantly, provide you feedback. So we don't always think on the outside the way they think on the inside about our technology. One example I'll share is a company had a tablet with information collected from sensors that was very intended to be very useful for hazmat teams. So those folks that were doing remediation, going into hazardous environments, to be able to look at levels of materials in the air, hazard levels, and so forth. And the tablet had a touch screen. So they're testing this out in the demonstration opportunity, and the end user is testing it, and they're all gloved up. They're completely sealed in their hazmat suit, trying to use that tablet. And they said to the innovator, "Hey, I can't touch this screen. I can't make this screen work." And the innovator said, "Well, you have to take your glove off." And the guy looked at him and said, "Well, if I take my glove off, I'm dead." So great technology, but there was a flaw in that the innovator hadn't really considered, but the feedback from the end user was able to provide. So they were able to make those modifications and move forward. Those kinds of opportunities, Tech Warrior in particular, there's not a cost for the innovator to participate other than their transportation, their lodging when they're there. But it's a tremendous opportunity to meet the right people on the inside of the fence and use DoD resources to test out those technologies. Subject matter experts, great resource for you if you need to understand what's going on inside the fence, how things get done, who does it. You need information that you can't always get from publicly available sources. You can access those subject matter experts. There are federal lab system resources that you can access, equipments, facilities, test sites. Those are paid for through federal dollars, and some can be made available to the business community. So, back to the beginning, think about what you really need to advance your technology. Do I need an expert? Do I need a test bed? Do I need a piece of equipment that I can't afford to buy or don't want to buy? And think about how you can use those and leverage those resources. The NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program is a fabulous resource for the manufacturing community, or for someone that needs to manufacture and is looking for a contract manufacturer, short-run manufacturer. The NIST program offers services that are no cost, reduced cost seminars. They have a big push for cybersecurity and helping companies become certified so that your cybersecurity measures are in place and appropriate to do work for the DoD. There is an MEP program in every state, and I've provided the general URL. You can go out to that. You can find the program in your state, see what they have to offer. Everything from HR to helping you bring your manufacturing facility from state of good practice to state of the art is available through your MEP programs. The other resource that I would recommend you look into is the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. So if you have never done business with the government, there are a couple of things you're going to have to do in order to be able to do that. Before you can submit a proposal, before you can take any money, you have to be registered in what's called the SAM system, so the System for Award Management. And there's a couple of hoops you need to go through to do that. There's a lot of fee-based programs out there for that. Don't pay for that. PTACs can provide that to you at no cost. They can help you develop a capability statement. They can help you identify what your NAICS codes are, which you're going to need as you go forward. So look at these resources. Find a PTAC near you. Find an MEP near you. I haven't listed it on here, but the Small Business Development Centers funded by the SBA are great resources. They can help you with your business plan, with your financial planning. Use those resources that are free. Money's never easy for an entrepreneur, and you have to use what you have wisely. So take some time and find out who's going to provide services to you for free. The federal government's paid for it. It is your tax dollars at work, so make those dollars work for you as you're developing your business, as you're developing your strategy to work with DoD. Additional resources you can look at. There are programs like the Triad program around the country. I've named a couple on here. Encountering Innovation is hosted by the Kansas Small Business Development Center. They offer support for technology transfer, business matchmaking. They are well connected to the Department of Defense Scout Network and to business resources in Kansas. I've given you their URL. Alan Badgley, who runs that program, great friend of GDI and of the Triad program. The Catalyst Accelerator in Colorado, also a terrific resource. They work with AFWorks and Space Command and look at a lot of things in the aerospace industry. They run demonstration days. They run Ask Me Anything sessions. Kimar Gartman runs that program, fabulous resource. You can reach out to her and get more information about that. And then the Triad program, we provide education and advocacy for companies that want to work with the DoD, helping to introduce them to science and technology scouts and scouts from other three-letter agencies. And I've put our URL on here as well for you. So I've mentioned before a couple of times, use a common language when you're working with the DoD. So before you start having those conversations, familiarize yourself with the organizations, the units, the designations, the kinds of people that are in there who are going to benefit from your technology. So be conversant in that ecosystem and in that world, and make sure that you do this for your own education, for ease of conversation, but to be respectful of those folks that you're going to work with in the DoD, that you're going to communicate with, because you want to make sure you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting their time. Communicate your ideas using terms that are going to resonate with them. So, if you're going to talk about med tech, talk about it in their terms. Talk about cyber tech in their terms. You don't have to be deeply, deeply versed in their language, but just make sure that you're not using industry terms that, while they may mean something to you, they may not mean something to that person you're talking to inside the fence. And always, 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 if you don't understand what they're saying to you, just ask. It's a sign of, that you want to understand, you want to relate to them. So if they use an acronym, and there are thousands that you're not familiar with, say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Can you tell me what that is, or can you explain that to me?" And they are happy to do so, because that's telling them that you're engaged. This conversation is important, and you want to be sure that there's good clarity. If you find a funding opportunity, you find an SBIR or an STTR opportunity that's out there, and you want to submit a proposal, read that opportunity carefully, read that broad agency announcement, read that topic release very carefully. Make sure that you are a qualifying entity for that. Small businesses for the SBIR, STTR program generally are, but just make sure that that your organization is the right kind of organization. Make sure that your technology really is a fit, and understand what they're telling you to do. If they tell you 1-inch margins, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 10 pages maximum, do exactly that. Those things matter. We have seen great technologies that didn't get funded, and not so great technologies, but great proposals that did get funded. So those administrative things matter. You're one of many, many proposers in these programs. And so the way that they're differentiating, the way that they're looking through, it may come down to who met all of the administrative criteria of that solicitation. So don't get knocked out of the running because you didn't format right, you didn't submit the right information, you weren't the right kind of company, you didn't sign something. So make sure that you're fully aware of what you're doing going into it. That time that you spend on the front end could save you a lot of time on the back end. Look to partners. Potential partners that have done this before can really be a help to you, can save you time, can save you money. If you need help writing a proposal, talk to the PTACs, the MEPs, the SBDCs. They may have a list of proposal writers that you can work with. There are fees associated with many, if not all of those, but it could be a great investment for you if this is really something that you want to pursue, the specific program that you're interested in supporting. So take the time, do the due diligence, understand the schedule. If they offer an Ask Me Anything session where you can tune into a webinar and ask your questions, do that. look for training programs, look for programs like this, where you can learn more about the SBIR, STTR, those funding program activities. But educate yourself on the front end. Do the things that are free. Do the things that are easy to save yourself time and money on the back end. So sharing information, I talked about specific formats. One of the formats that we see often used and I think appreciated is the Bluff, the bottom line upfront statement. The Bluff is what we call an elevator pitch on the outside. So just an example of, we don't use the same language. So an elevator pitch, if you imagine yourself getting on the ground floor, getting in the elevator at the ground floor, and there's a 3-star general standing next to you, and he says, "What do you do?" You want to be able to tell him between now and the 60th floor what it is you do. You're not telling him what your degrees are. You're not telling him what your area of expertise is. You're telling him, we solve this problem. And these end users have this problem. And here's how we're going to solve it. And here's why it's important. So your Bluff is, defines a problem, relates it to a requirement, identifies an impacted user group, describes the solution and the benefit to the DoD, talks about why what you do is better than what somebody else does. The most important thing is it's clear, it's concise, it's credible, and we always say it's repeatable, because you want that general to get off the elevator and say to the next guy, "Hey, I talked to this guy in the elevator, and he knows we have a problem shipping this, and he knows how to solve that problem in a way that we're not doing, and it's going to save us millions of dollars." So you want that information to kind of get viral and to be able to be communicated forward. And that just becomes part of the pattern, part of the way that you share your expertise with the world and with the DoD as they move forward and look at your technology and your solutions. So another piece of information that we see, or a common format that we see, is the quad chart. Lots of agencies do quad charts. This happens to be the one that we use. But what you see in a quad chart is information in predefined sections, bullet pointed, very targeted, very concise, very descriptive. So in this example, you see in the upper right quadrant, you've got a capability description. Those things we relate to the acquisitions person. So if you imagine an acquisitions person is told, go out and buy a red balloon, they may differentiate size of the balloon, shape of the balloon, shades of red, whatever. And this would talk about that. This would say it's a red balloon. It accepts more helium. It floats easier. It saves money. It saves time on inflation, whatever those things might be. So things that would be important to a buyer. And understand that the acquisitions person may not be a user. So they may never have seen a balloon before. They may never have purchased a balloon before. They just know they're supposed to buy a red balloon. You look in the lower left quadrant, you see the operational description. That's the end user information. That says these balloons come with a string already loaded on them, so you don't have to tie a string on. And one guy can inflate 100 balloons, and it's going to show up at night. It's going to be available, it's going to stay in the air longer, stronger, whatever that may be. In the lower right quadrant, requirement match and benefit, this just goes back to who has the problem, how are we meeting the problem, why is it important, have we worked with anyone else, have we talked with other DoD groups, have we received funding, have we had demonstration opportunities. So this is giving them all of the information they could possibly need, high level, in one chart. One thing that's important as you're thinking about sharing information is defining how your information can be shared beyond that first contact or that second contact. And that's why you see on this quad chart distribution B language. So in this case, distribution B is for government agencies only, and the information is proprietary. We recommend that you do not put confidential or trade secret on your documents, because that changes the way that it can be shared internally, and you want information to be shared internally. So as you're sharing information with people, if you're not sure, ask them, should this be marked in any certain way, so that you have freedom to share that inside. But knowing that that information is going to be shared, you want to be really careful about what you include. So don't include the recipe for your secret sauce. You can just say, we have secret sauce and it tastes wonderful. So be thoughtful about that. You don't have to be overly cautious. They're not going to take your IP. They're not going to take your idea and run with it. But you want to be thoughtful about how you share information and the opportunity that you give them to in turn share this information with their colleagues. And so those colleagues, those right people, we work with science and technology scouts from the combatant commands. Scouts like this are available or are present in what we call the three-letter agencies. So scouts from the FBI, from Homeland Security, from the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense, from Army Corps of Engineers, Navy, Army Futures Command. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But it is the task of these scouts to go out and find solutions to problems. The scouts that we have worked with have all been former service members, so they have butts on the ground or butts in the air, boots on the ground knowledge. They've run the convoys. They've set up tents. They've set up med centers. They've done all of those things, and so they can speak to, here's how we did it when I was there. Here's what we tried when I was in command. Here's what worked for us. Here's what's not working for us now. So those people are incredibly valuable in terms of accessing their knowledge base and being able to draw that information out. And if you go to an innovation summit, if you go to DoD events, you'll often see them. They won't always say that they're a tech scout, but those people are present and very engaged. They are out in the community now that we're starting to be able to be out again. Trade shows, innovation summits. We've seen them at academic poster sessions, certainly at the demonstrations events, like I spoke about earlier. They've got huge networks, hundreds, if not thousands, of people that they know from prior service, from current service, and they're sharing information with those buyers, with those decision makers and influencers. They are constantly searching for solutions to problems for the warfighter, ways to support the warfighter. For us, for them, the warfighter is a service member, active duty or retired. They're not necessarily a combatant. They may never see time in a conflict zone. They may be in transportation. They may be a mechanic. They may be an accountant. But the scouts are really looking to help make the jobs of those folks easier, safer, help them achieve mission goals faster, help them come home from a conflict whole and healthy and ready to get back to their civilian lives. So, I've lost there. I've lost there we go. Sorry. So find support that works for you. Look at education programs. Look at ways to find emerging technology information sharing, network, help find people like you, partnerships, potential partnerships, principal investigators in academia. That information that you gather will help you leverage your existing DoD relationships, leverage your existing funding. Look for pitch sessions where you can meet technology scouts, where you can meet federal agency representatives, where you can get connected to end users and other resources. Look for help with completion of forms, completion of registrations, certifications, deciphering of requirements. Look into your community, ask the questions, do your research, do your due diligence, and take the assets that are provided for you and use those to really move your company forward, move your technology forward. But be thoughtful about that. And don't just jump on everything. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. As I mentioned with the SAM program, there are a lot of fee-based programs out there for completing your SAM registration, but there is free help for you. So no one should tell you, you have to pay me to do this, because there's free help available. So do your due diligence in terms of resources and support to grow your business and grow your innovation. So again, you know, the keys to those, to doing well with the DoD, do your research, think of your innovation as a solution to a problem and find that point of alignment. Find the right resources for you at whatever stage you're at. Speak in a common language. Don't get bogged down in industry terms and technical terms that other people aren't going to understand. Keep it simple. Keep it easy to understand. Share information in a way that the recipient of that information is going to understand, that they're going to be able to decipher, that the next person is going to be able to decipher. You're not going to be standing there necessarily when your piece of information is shared with the next guy in the chain. So make sure they can understand it. Make sure it stands alone and speaks for itself without you prompting, without you providing those definitions along the way. And actively engage. Talk to the right people. Spend the time with them. Get to know them. Get to know the problems. And right information, right format, right people will really help you advance and help you grow and help you prosper through this. So Albert Einstein is credited with saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Don't spend your time doing the same thing over and over. Don't go to the same trade shows. Don't talk to just the same people and expect that something new is going to happen. It's not. You're going to get those same results if you continue to do the same things. And if those things aren't successful, why keep doing them? Why keep investing in them? Don't apply for funding that isn't designed to develop technology like yours or isn't a fit for your kind of organization. You're wasting your time, and your time is valuable. You're wasting your time, you're wasting the time of the reviewer, and it's just not going to get you anywhere. And you may not even get feedback. In the phase 1 SBIR proposals, a lot of times you don't get feedback if you don't get through. So you don't really know, you don't learn anything from that. So be thoughtful about those applications for funding and for support. Don't expect the people inside the fence to speak your language. Some might, others will not. And if you don't speak their language, if you don't make the effort, you're not going to advance with them. You're not going to get what you want out of those conversations. Don't expect them to understand information shared in your way. Bend a little, do your due diligence, understand what they're looking for and how they want to see it. And if you don't know, ask. But do be active, do be positive about this, do be proactive about engaging. My philosophy for this is that when we align our solutions to problems, and when we use a common language and we share information in a format that we all understand, we actively engage with our community, the outcomes will change. The insanity will end, and you'll be able to advance and succeed and get your technology out of the labs, into the hands of the warfighter, into the hands of the community, and grow your business and increase your success. And so that's it for me. That I'll leave you with that little bit of encouragement and those 5 points. But I truly, truly appreciate your time today. Would be happy to take any questions that you have. And if you want to talk offline, there's my contact information. Please give me a call, send me an email, and we'll go from there. So, John, with that, that wraps everything up, and I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, great. Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Okay, we have only one question for now, but a lot of times questions trickle in during the Q&A period. So I'll go ahead and bring this one up on the screen. This one is, how does one get a DTEK account, submitted by Michael Breslin?
So, Michael, it's a very simple registration process on the DTEK site. You just create a login and a password and go from there. So it's not an overly complicated process. It's not a fee-based process to start to engage with them. So if you just go to the DTEK website, they'll ask for sign-in information, and you just fill that out. But a lot of the information is just available without even registering.
Okay. Let me see if any more have come in. It actually doesn't look like it. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is also, and you may not have brought it up because it's being hosted by the IAC, but there are 3 different information analysis centers. So this webinar being hosted by the Homeland Defense and Security Information Analysis Center. And then we also have the Defense Systems IAC and the Cybersecurity and Information Systems IAC. And all of those, the S&T field advisors or technical scouts that you mentioned actually are partially funded by the IAC program. And so if you need access to information from them or have questions about what innovations may already be out there, please, you can submit a technical inquiry to the IAC, and we can get you started with that kind of research. The only caveat is that you do need to be on a government contract already, but SBIRs and STTRs do qualify. So once you have that award, we can help you get started, and we can provide up to 4 hours of free research service through our technical inquiry service. So I just wanted to mention that as well, Lisa. I know you're aware that you're a proponent of us, so I just want to toss that in there.
I will make I wrote myself a note to add that to the presentation, because I do you a disservice by not including you in that.
Oh, that's okay. That's no problem. And there's a couple comments here, and then the gentleman, Mr. Arnold Packman, did submit a question asking if we could acknowledge them. And I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not sure if they are viewable by everyone. It looks like they're only viewable by presenters. But one of the comments that Mr. Packman made is just that by knowing or by not knowing your target organization's acronyms and jargon, you are sending a clear message that you are an outsider, which can be good if they want an outside perspective or bad if they do not. The latter is usually the case, especially for the Army. I recommend reading a few of the organization's recent SOPs, regulations, and guidance, and look up all the acronyms and buzzwords so that you sound more like an insider. And I would agree that is good, looking up the SOPs and things to see how they talk. But another one that he brought up that is very germane to this presentation is a Northern Virginia venue that is a great place to meet investors, venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, and government scouts from every agency and department is the MIT Enterprise Forum. I don't know if they're still meeting in person because of COVID, but look up their meeting schedule online. So I just wanted to mention those. I thought that they were viewable by everyone, but it looked like it's only to the presenters. Have you heard of, Lisa, have you heard of the MIT Enterprise Forum?
Excuse me, I have not, but there's this is why the community engagement is so important, because we all have our individual experiences and share information, free. Entrepreneurs share information very freely with each other, and I think being able to participate in forums like this really is important. But I made a note of that, and I absolutely will look that up. And the other point that was made is, familiarizing yourself with the organizations, the SOPs that you're working with is just crucial. I mean, it just shows such a level of respect for the people that you're talking with, and respect is very important. And the other thing is, understand what the titles are. Speak to people with that level of consideration and respect. It will pay benefits to you.
Okay. With that, I don't see any more questions, but what I'll do is, if I just stop Q&A, should bring your last slide back up for a moment. It's showing a blank screen
Yep.
on.
I'm sure seeing it on mine.
Okay. Um, so hopefully that's showing the screen that has your contact information, and then obviously you can always, if you want to reach Lisa and can't remember her contact information or didn't write it down, you can always reach us at contact@hdiac.org, and we can put you in touch with Lisa and other people who can get you started with any technical questions you may have. But with that, Lisa, thank you so much for putting together this presentation. It was a great one. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, John. The opportunity to share information is always deeply appreciated. Um, Welcome any questions from anyone on the side. Just happy to be here and happy to be able to support your mission and the mission of the warfighter.
Very much. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. You too. Bye bye.